Many of you may remember the words duck and cover. They were bywords of my childhood. It was a time when we lived in fear of nuclear attack. At elementary school, there were occasional drills when the alarm went off and the students had to huddle under their desks. In my neighborhood, several families built underground bomb shelters for provision for a long stay. Those were days when many people feared it would all end in a bright flash of light and searing heat. In those days, the sun will be darkened and the moon will not give its light and the stars will be falling from heavens. Words from St. Mark's Gospel for this morning. And when he wrote these words, I can't help but believe that the great fires of Rome, both from burning buildings and burning Christians that lit the night sky with their flames, were still fresh in Mark's memory and those of the Christian church in Rome. I can't help but believe that at that time the rumors were getting to filter back about the atrocities of the siege of Jerusalem that was taking place at that time. Were these the days that Jesus would return to judge the quick and the dead? Were these the days when God would decide it was time to start over again? And I'm sure to many Christians around the world at that time it must have seemed so. And so I think that St. Mark's little apocalypse may seem to be a strange beginning for the church's new year, the first Sunday of Advent. Is this the good news that Mark wants to share with us? The end of time. Remember, these words were inserted in the midst of Holy Week, from a time of beginnings and endings, somewhere between the triumphal entry and the crucifixion and resurrection. And so the church begins its new year with a reminder to us that this is the time of endings and beginnings. Over the past couple of weeks, we have the light of the sun and the moon have been darkened by fires and smoke in places like Ferguson, Missouri. And regardless of which side of that issue you might be on, it's a tragedy for everybody involved. Lives have ended physically, professionally, emotionally, and spiritually. Recently in Wichita, a woman was assaulted and raped and set on fire. And who does that to another person? Do not the bonds of our common humanity demand that we respect the dignity of every human being? Sometimes I think we speak these words, but we fall woefully short of living them. Our Judeo-Christian heritage teaches us that humanity has been created just a little lower than the angels. We are God's crowning creation. But we got ourselves thrown out of paradise, and soon jealousy brought forth murder and death. We found deliverance in the waters of life and walked in the midst of the Red Sea. And in gratitude to God, we created a golden calf. Through the minds and the words of prophets and kings, God revealed basic laws and commandments, which we have failed to keep. So we must ask again, anew each year, how can we overcome our fallenness? How can we overcome our selfishness and vanity? How can we overcome our cruelty to one another? I really think sometimes that if the world ends, I'm not sure it will be at the hands of God. If the world ends, I doubt we will have anybody to blame but ourselves. If the sun and the moon are darkened because of nuclear winter, it will be because we failed to find ways to live together. If the sun and the moon are darkened by the smoke from burning cities, who can we blame for our failure to see the image of God their cry for human dignity and justice came to our ears, and we cared not. The voices of those in pain, of those who have lost their way, of those who are searching for some sort of meaning, those are our voices crying out to God, help me. And we beg because we have erred and strayed in thy ways like lost sheep. We have followed too much the devices and desires for our lives. Now maybe many of you have come to the point where I have and really think that the only thing that's going to change the world is America. Only America is going to be able to move us from the path of death to the path of life. Only America can take away the fear of dark days and even darker nights. Only America can do this. Only America. We haven't been able to do it for ourselves. So somebody's had to do it for us. And so this day, this first Sunday of Advent, we prepare for that miracle. Today we begin a cycle of prayers and readings and worship to remind us of just what God is capable of doing. This day is somewhat fitting that we greet Advent with baptisms and first communions and confirmations. For these are signs and symbols of new beginnings. They are signs and symbols of hope, as are all the sacraments. In these sacraments, we see hope born again and renewed. And we see on the horizon the husband and wife riding to encounter the miracle in a stable. And that which we cannot do for ourselves, God is promising to do for us. And so St. Mark's opening words to us at the beginning of Advent stop us in our tracks today and turn us around and point us towards Bethlehem. The journey begins today. Maybe there will be a day when the fires of hatred and jealousy burn themselves out. Maybe there will be a day when we cease to fear one another. Maybe there will be a day when the sun and moon disappear, where we, as John in Revelation says, will have no need of a sun or a moon, for the glory of the Lord will be our light, and the Lamb will be our hope. The journey begins today. And maybe someday, all men and women and children will, in the words of the prophet, sit under their own vine and under their own fig trees, and no one shall make them afraid. For the mouth of the Lord of hosts has spoken. Behold, I bring you great news of great joy, which the angels proclaim to the world. The journey begins today. The journey to the miracle starts now.